Welcome to the PRFF podcast. This is the podcast where we dive deep behind the scenes and into the script and into the mind of the directors of the Party Room Film Festival. For our pilot episode, I have newcomer and new household name, Mr. Aaron Winneroski. Aaron, how you doing, man?
Yeah, great, man. Thanks for having me. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
this.
So, Aaron, this was your first outing in the film festival. Tell me what as a newcomer to it, what were your reactions whenever you were first approached about joining? And did you do anything special to prepare and get to know the competition?
Yeah, well, I think, when was it? Last May? I think Andrew King texted and said, "Hey, so I have a thing." And I said, "Okay." And I see the three little dots, you don't know what it's going to be when Andrew texts you something like that. He sends me a bunch of texts talking about the Party Room Film Festival and talking about how it's a group of guys who get together each summer and basically produce a film that's around 8 minutes or less. What drew me to it was he explained how each person, he wanted to continue to be in it. So, if you're going to commit to being in the Party Room Film Festival, you're not committing for 1 year or 2 years. You're essentially committing for life. And I actually kind of love that idea, especially because, after college we all moved separate ways. So this was a really solid way to stay friends with everyone with pretty minimal effort, but pretty fun results. So I thought it was genius.
So speaking of how it kind of keeps us as friends together, your film this year was The Rotten Roommate. You were paired up with Landers to be in your film. Can you tell me what was the inspiration for Rotten Roommate? Was it just the alliteration of rotten and then you were like, Landers is a roommate? What was your process for writing this script?
When I first got the word rotten, I think my mind started to wander to really practical things, like something rotten, like a piece of fruit or a piece of, a vegetable, like rotting in the fridge. That's kind of where your mind goes. But then I started to try to stretch myself in the way I was thinking of rotten. So I think I put it in a synonym thing online, synonym generator. And I got all these things like bad, evil. I'm like, okay, so there's, rotten that can be in the title, but we can make whatever we want, right? It doesn't have to. I feel like you can fall into the trap of you hear the word and you're like, oh, it has to be that. But you really need to kind of try to get past that and make the film you want and just adhere it to the word. That's kind of what I started thinking. So what I did is I went back and I watched last year's films. I watched all 11 or 12 of those. I watched all of them. And I kind of was taking mental notes and I kind of came to the conclusion at the end of it. I was like, what seems to do well is the shocking element.
That's
I
very
think,
true.
Yeah. So Sam Maddox won last year, and that was what kind of stood out to people. I wasn't there, but that's what I figured stood out to people. And I thought, going into this year, I think people are going to all know that. So everyone's going to try to go for some sort of shock value, in a way. They may try to incorporate that in more, like Andrew King's film.
Oh yeah, that there's so much to deconstruct with Andrew King's submission for 21.
So when I was thinking of what I could do, I kind of took a mental note of how do other people see me? How do I think other people see me? And how can I do the exact opposite of what they think I would do?
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I would never think about that, but a lot of people do see you as kind of the cuddly teddy bear guy. You're a sweet dude, and then just honestly, the biggest reaction of the night was whenever you scroll down on that website and it says "kill small talk." Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
so
gosh.
what was, why did you decide to kill Chuckles? When did you decide?
Okay, so I yeah, good question. I have this thing where I just sat on this couch and I knew I wanted to do something evil. And then I was trying to figure out, how do I incorporate Landers? Well, there's like some scheduling conflicts. I wanted to go down and originally to Kentucky, and one of my ideas was like have him be some sort of like murderer, where it's like me and my wife, like we go to him and his wife's house,
Yeah.
and he turns out to be this like murderer, and it's like this awkward dinner party where like I don't know how to leave because he's like my friend, but he's like a murderer. So I'm like whispering to like Caitlin, I'm like, should I like call the police? Like, I don't really know what to do. Like, he's my friend. And that was really funny in my mind. Like, I was playing around with that idea. And then I was like, oh, I wanted to do that, but there just wasn't enough like time logistically to figure that out.
Yeah.
And to like direct like 4 people. And then you have to have camera off. It's just too much. And so I was like, well, what can I do with Landers not here? And then just, I don't know how, but I just kind of connected the dots. I was like, let's just have him be like a spirit or a ghost or something. I could just like text him things to say. That's how I got thinking through this. And as I sat on the couch and I was like, okay, I know I wanted to be then that's when I was like, well, I can't just be alone talking out loud. I got to talk to someone. And then that's when I brought in Chuckles, my pug, because I just thought he's like the epitome of like innocence. So what funnier way to go about it than include him? A super cute dog, and trying to sacrifice him is just so hard to wrap your head around that it just made so much sense. And if it makes like I literally laughed out loud as I thought of that sitting on the couch. I literally laughed out loud to myself. I was like, if I'm laughing out loud thinking of this in my head, then we got to do it.
Speaking of sitting on your couch, tell me a little bit about the behind the scenes of filming this. Did you just take your couch out of your room and roll up your carpet and all of that for your moving in scene?
Yeah, dude, I did. I was still in this apartment. I actually took everything out of my fridge and I put it in the back room of my apartment. And I picked up everything. I took everything off the walls.
I love the I don't think I noticed it the first time. I watched it a couple times today just to prepare for this interview. I don't think I realized that this was back in 2017 or 2018 maybe, when you had just left Asbury. And I love the little nod to living alone bachelor life. There's just like one corn dog, not even in a wrapper, in the freezer. What do you have for breakfast? Well, you have cereal, I guess. And I don't know. I just thought that was like an amazing, great little touch to young Aaron's life.
Yeah. And I just thought it would be funny because I thought of the audience, and that is how people in that audience, people remember. It's perfect because Landers and I joined at the same year. So what better way than to almost go back and like almost be like, this is because in other people's minds that might be like how they still think of us, is like roommates at Asbury. So I was trying to capitalize on that, but it's like, forget what actually happened, forget that like I have a wife like that we don't even talk about in the film. Right? Like, it's this complete alternate reality.
Whenever you did the poster reveal and title reveal of your film, like It's Rotten Roommate, I immediately messaged Zach and I was like, I really hope that this is footage of Landers like cutting his toenails next to Aaron while he's trying to eat, and like walking around like while Aaron's trying to study. I was hoping that it would just be blackmail footage.
And that's all it is from beginning to end for 8 minutes.
You just expose him for the rotten roommate that he is. And I was pleasantly surprised, but that's really what I was expecting.
Like, he doesn't even know. Like, I was filming during college that whole time.
And you put up with it for 3-4 years, something like that. So you mentioned your wife. Was she camera operator for you?
Yeah, she was.
Did she help you write the script at all? Was she mortified when you said, I'm going to kill Chuckles? What was her reaction to all of this?
I was just kind of sitting on the couch, and I knew I wanted to have Landers be like this ghost thing. I don't know. And I knew I wanted Chuckles in it, but I didn't have a beginning, middle, and end. So I literally just like, I go in my apartment, I go da da da. It was like really blocky. And then she was kind of like giving me feedback on the things, I would say. So she came up with like the corn dog thing. She was like, hey, this just like little, like you have the overall story, but then like these little funny moments that
Yeah.
happened during it. Like when we were just like out by the dumpster and I was like throwing something away, I was like, I should just like randomly make this super slow-mo for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I
From
just
three different
loved
angles.
from 3 different angles. I was like, I just love the idea of just doing like the most stupid stuff imaginable. But yeah, she did great. I kind of told her some camera angles to get, and she kind of came up with some ideas. Um, and that's something I wanted to do, was get a ton of camera angles. Because I love when videos, when they move, when they aren't stale, but there's lots to look at. And I also knew I wanted a couple sequences of really intense action. The ironic thing, I'm not a huge like horror guy.
That's the other thing, is why it was unexpected for you to make this film of you praying in red light. And
Well, I kept telling Caitlin, I was like, as I was sitting here thinking of things, I kept pausing myself, and I was like, is this going too far? And she was like, maybe. And I was like, but isn't that kind of what I want? I want to flirt that line of going too far.
it did scare me a little bit whenever we go into like the dream sequence of you going like, like it really did like kind of freak me out. I was like, where is this going? So you're sitting there on the couch thinking of ideas, you're bouncing them off your wife, Caitlin.
Mm-hmm.
When is that happening? Because I think there's always like the running joke of it's a week before things are due, and people are like, I still haven't thought of anything. How quickly did you hop on this project?
Yeah, I think Andrew submitted his first, and I think I submitted mine second, I want to say. And so I was ahead of time. I want to say like a good like 3 weeks, but it was like a Saturday night. I was sitting on the couch talking this through for a few hours to nail the details, and literally just typing it on my phone. And then the next day, actually, I just told Kayla, I was like, after church, you want to just like film this whole thing. And I'm someone who, when I'm all in. I have a hard time focusing on anything else until I get that thing done.
Oh yeah.
And so I have to just dive in, because it will be the best result if I can just say like, this day is 100% devoted to this thing. So Saturday night I wrote it, Sunday filmed it all day. We started filming around noon. We got done around 6. Took about 6 hours to film the whole thing
Entirety.
in its entirety.
Wow. Okay.
We
nice.
moved pretty quick. Well, you got to understand, we had just me. There wasn't crazy angles to figure out, because like yours, you had to figure out like these specific angles and stuff. See, that was difficult. We were just in this one little like 1-bedroom apartment, like this living room space. Then the scene in the forest was like just behind my apartment, and that was like 7 or 8 shots. Since I create shot lists every single day, I was able to just kind of like plug in, just go.
Yeah, that's really incredible to create that masterpiece in a day. But of course, that's just filming. What would you say for like editing wise? How much?
Yeah, that took me actually a decent amount of time, a lot more than 6 hours. I spent about a week editing, about 5 or 6 days, but I was doing it each night in about 4 hours a night.
Okay.
So I don't know what that'd be, 20 to 25 hours editing.
Okay. I realized one of your editing today was just it's the candle. It's the candle that like floats up off the table, starts spinning, and then like smashes across the room. That was beautiful. That was an excellent edit. You started writing it almost immediately, or you took a week to write it to have that light bulb?
Yeah, we got like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
This year. So it was a little over a month in. I was just kind of
Mhm.
sitting on it. And then once Anders submitted, that's when I got really serious. I was like, okay, I got to make something. And
Mhm.
so I think it was literally the next day where I like really started to think about it. And then maybe a day or two later is when I sat down and wrote the script, wrote it in a night, in a few hours, like I said. And then uh, the next morning after church, I like went to the Dollar Tree to get all the stuff I needed, like the little chalkboards and stuff. Um, and then I printed out pictures the night before too, and I
Nice.
actually I burned them like with a lighter, which stinks, and I don't think you're supposed to do that.
You're definitely not. You're definitely not
No, you're not
supposed
supposed
to
to do
do
that.
that. Um, did Landers know that you were defiling his pictures for this? Did you send him these things, and what was his reaction to the horror that you were creating?
Yeah, I did. I sent him the idea. He liked it a lot. I don't think he knew like how evil I was gonna make it, but
Mhm.
then I sent him some of the pictures, and I think his response was just like, "Holy crap, dude! What in the world?" I showed him the poster first, and he really liked that. And then he's a fan of the film.
I would
I
definitely.
showed I previewed everything for him before I showed anyone else.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing that they did this go around and they didn't do last year was the collaboration aspect. And I think that helped out a lot. For example, like I got to work with Sam, and Sam was in mine as well. We got really lucky with that one. But I think that was a really cool aspect of the festival this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was fun just to include myself. I mean, that's what you did too. Like include ourselves in it. And we
Mhm.
both kind of did we were thinking along the same lines where we like created an alternate world of ourselves.
What are you
Right?
talking
We
about? Alternate world. That happened, man. That happened.
Well, I think it's so effective because we're not actors. But if you could but for some reason when you display yourself like an alternate version of yourself and you say like this is my life and this actually happened or something, it has this sort of effect that it's not more believable, but it's almost funnier in a way because you're like making fun of yourself. You know how comedians like make fun of themselves?
Hmm. I think it's funnier, but it's also more genuine, maybe. Like that might not be the right word, but because you're portraying yourself, it's like you know exactly how you want this to go. You know what your reactions would be in this situation. You know how you would say it, rather than like trying to get into a character. Do you have any Easter eggs or fun facts, stories from behind the scenes? Anything that the listeners are
Yeah.
just dying to hear?
Well, when I went behind, so there's a softball complex right here. And when I went behind our apartment with Chuckles, I had literally a bottle of ketchup, a knife. It is not even like a very big knife. That's the kind of the funny thing. This is like a little kitchen knife.
Yeah, it's a
And
little butter knife.
yeah, and then Caitlin's following me with a phone, like filming, right? Just go into the woods, like with a pug, a knife, and a bottle of ketchup. And they
Mm-hmm.
just like watched me, like from the field. And then I emerged from the field with ketchup all over my shirt, all over my arms, all over my pants because it got everywhere. And like, I'm sure it was like on Chuck too. I don't know. They were in the middle of the game, but like they were looking at me.
Watching it today, and I'm sure I had the thought when I watched it the first time too, is like you're on a bike path or you're on a walking
Mm-hmm.
trail, right? Just
Yeah, it's like a
the shot,
utility area. Like there's like a utility area.
the shot of you on your knees, knife above your head, getting ready to plunge it down. Did anybody walk by? I just need to know what that. Were
They
you
may have
looking
seen it.
around?
Yeah, they may have seen it. I try to get far enough back that there was some like cover with the trees. So like maybe they saw it, but does that almost make it worse? Because if they're like, what's going on back there, and then that's what they see.
They just see the glint of a knife through the bushes. And like, oh, it's an
And
amazing moment in the film. It's
oh thanks
amazing.
man. And I I love the idea. Like, it's funny because I was like, I can't actually, and I was like going, I was like, should it end with like just a cut to black and you just hear like a yelp or something? And I was like,
Oh
no,
no.
absolutely. I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I can't do that because people like it's not even funny anymore. Which, in a way, that's also like crossing some sort of line. So, but you are left with this feeling of you don't know how to react and you're kind of disturbed that I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to leave the viewer in a state of like you need to tie everything in a bow at the end.
Okay.
All this stuff happens and at the end you tie it into the bow. And so my bow moment for that film is when I stab myself, so then you're happy that he didn't die, because even though I'm a human, it's you save the pug. And so, because I didn't actually, even not that you would know that he actually died, but it's you care more about the dog. So that helped. And then so you're happy about that. And then when it zooms in on his eyes and they turn red, it's just this moment of like, oh, he's the evil one. Like, and this like, I love doing like these like little reveals or things to make you continue to think about it after it ends. So the last frame is something that makes you think like, oh, did everything I just watched, was that a lie?
Yeah, it's funny what you say about like, killing the dog. Like that's just a step too far. I mean, have you seen the John Wick movies? Yeah. Keanu Reeves like slaughters hundreds, if not thousands of people in these movies. And we're fine with it all because he's avenging a puppy.
Exactly.
And honestly, that's part of the reason why past Jacob kills Maddie's Minecraft dog, because even though it's Minecraft, I feel like there still is some level of like, that guy killed a dog, he's a bad guy. I just thought that would sell it a little bit.
Speaking of like Easter eggs, when I was watching your film earlier, I saw like the level of commitment you put into it was awesome. Like the calendar, how you made a custom calendar. Like, did anyone even catch that? That you made you did, right? Made a custom calendar?
So, all right, we can talk about it now. That is a Christmas gift that I gave my now fiance last Christmas. I made a sexy calendar just for her.
I could tell it was like supposed to be that, like a little bit. Like it was a little bit hard to see some of the images, but
just be thankful that like you only saw to July and not to like Christmas. But yeah, no, that was a good little Easter egg. One of my big inspirations is Edgar Wright. I just love how everything he does, like basically every frame is just an allusion to something he's done, or it's an allusion to something earlier in the movie, or like all of that type of stuff. Would you say that you have any inspirations, and how did they define what your work was for this film?
Yeah, good question. Yes, I'm inspired by filmmakers, but I would say for this, I was almost more inspired by, this is a pretty boring answer, but like just by like The Office, or like that kind of style of humor where it's like borderline, and it's the audience almost kind of, you're filming for a reaction from the audience, like when it's like the dog scene. So I would say that it's that kind of humor more so than anything. You know what else inspired me, actually? Just skit style shows, just like funny short bit style shows like SNL or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is an amazing technique to use for Party Room Film Festival.
Well, that's almost what is perfect for it, because it is such like a short length. It's almost like a Key and Peele episode where it's like just skit. That's a really good point.
And I think it can be that simple. Like literally, think of like the simplest idea, but just take it to the extreme. Like, I need money for X, so I'm going to start a lemonade stand. No one's buying my lemonade, so blank. And then there's your film, right? Like, it's just take any sort of idea and just keep pushing it. And also, if the audience kind of learns the model of the film early on, if you like, oh, I'm trying to raise money, and you know it's getting more and more extreme, you're sitting there in the audience anticipating, you're loving the film because you're like, it's just going to keep getting more and more extreme. So you already know you're kind of along for the ride with the character. And that's why I think your film worked really well, because you have that inciting incident where you're going in the past, and it's like, we're buckled in. We're like what's going to happen here?
You keep complimenting me. I'm trying to interview you, man.
Dude, I loved it.
We'll do my episode later, but right now it's about you, dude.
I'm telling you, man, it's really good. You put more effort into that than I do. Everyone interprets the assignment differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, if all of our films look the same, what fun would that be?
None at all. That's for sure.
Exactly.
And I think that's like a really cool part about like just assigning challenging us as well, because I can't write a script right now because I don't know the challenge that they're going to give me yet. So I can't do it ahead of time. I've got a few ideas that, like, now that I know how to make and edit and shoot and all that stuff, like, I have a few ideas on what I want to do, but I can't commit to any of it. Do you have any, like, do you have any plans or concepts you're playing with for next year's?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a few ideas, and I don't want to spoil anything, but like, I think I can make it more extreme in different ways that haven't been done. I want to, Ender Kings was, here's an extremely gross thing, or extremely, different thing. And I have a few ideas of things that haven't been done that I think could play well. And I also don't want to play it as safe. I think in a way, I kind of played it safe because I relied on people's knowledge of me and Landers as roommates. And I think I can go bigger outside the apartment.
Absolutely. I love to hear that. Outside the apartment. So we're going to have a lot of location shots.
Yep.
Aaron's booking trips to Stonehenge, Eiffel Tower. Got it.
I think it'll be more. I think I'll say this. I think it'll be more in nature.
Okay.
Next time around.
All right. I don't want to get too nosy and spoil anything, but I think I can deal with that little tease. But again, you have ideas, and that might just get thrown out the window.
Thrown out the window. Isn't that great? Like, it's just gonna get thrown out the window. The second I hear the word or challenge, I'll be like, okay, it's going in the apartment. I don't want to get too deep about this, but I do feel honored in a way that I was asked to join, and the Rotten Roommate did have the effect it did, because, like you said, after the first year, people were trying to figure out, what is this? And no one really, and that was kind of the first model of here's the kind of film that won, and people kind of got that in their heads, got them thinking, but we still only had 12 films. And so I think it's going to take a few years to really start to develop, like, this is what a PRFF film is. And I think we have developed the identity more this year of, like, it includes yourself or each other, right? That's become apparent. I think a lot of people's film had themselves in it. So that's starting to become a thing. And so I feel honored that the humor and the style of the Rotten Roommate can help influence years to come a little bit, right?
So where do you, and we're just imagination, let it run wild right here, where do you think the Party Room Film Festival is going from here? Do you think we're going to be like the next High Bridge? Do you think people are going to be submitting things to us now? Where do you think we're going?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit. Like, I could see us renting out like a movie theater, or like really making it a thing. Like, it's a thing now, but we're kind of like, where are we going to have it? Whose house are we going to have it at? I could see it becoming like not only a night, but like a weekend where it's like everyone travels to some city. I could see, just like, because as films stack up, we're going to have more content to replay. So I could see us like doing a thing where we rewatch old films. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. And how many films do we have by then? Like hundreds?
So I did the math at some point just as a joke, and I think in 17 years we can do a No Woman No Cry of just party room film
See,
festivals.
I think, and weirdly enough, it may get that's the beautiful thing. It can go any direction. Like it may get more basic where like we are still in someone's house, or maybe it gets fancier where we rent out like the room of some fancy restaurant, which I almost think is the almost a better way to go because it's hilarious, the content, and we're going all out with like a fancy meal and dressing up.
Mm-hmm. The party room film festival is what you make of it. And so like
Mm-hmm.
I think it is like we all know that it's just, this isn't going to be a famous thing. It's always, I mean, hopefully it's always just going to be this like core group of about 15 guys that are just trying to stay connected. And like it's a lot more fun to pretend that it's a big thing and just for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of pretending, because it's a lot more fun. It is what you make of it, so make a lot of it.
And I'd love for the film quality to improve in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
but also each year take a step back in some ways. We need half the films to take a step forward, but some to take a step back, and that's what would be perfect about it. Like if it's too advanced, then it's too intimidating. Like you also can't focus. Like it's competitive in a way, but not at all. Also,
Mm-hmm.
not at all. Like when I make my film next year, I'm not focused on winning anything. I'm focused on how ridiculous can I make this.
Mm. Sam Maddox, champion of the 2020 Party Room Film Festival, he said, like, whenever I was talking to him about his script this year, he told me, yeah, I won last year. This year is more of a love project. He's like, I've already won. Let me just make something that I really want to make. And he said that he's had the idea for like 2 years. And
See, that's what it's about.
let's wrap it up here. So, Aaron, as the current reigning champion, do you have any advice for the other directors in the group? For example, there are certain directors like Andrew King who couldn't even get his own wife to vote for his film. Do you have any advice? You have any
What the?
advice for those people?
Well, I would say we've seen two completely different films win. So that just shows you that the door is wide open. Any idea can be a winner.
All right, awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for your time today. And I don't know how to end this. So,
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, dude, thank you.